So welcome to the myfloridagreen podcast. Today we have a special guest, Maritza Bolowski, and she is going to share her journey with getting pain relief from medical marijuana. And first, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And I think it's so important to have these kinds of conversations because, there's a lot of stigmas with this, and so many people are getting massive relief in a number of different areas with medical marijuana. And I think it's important for people to hear the journey so people can understand that, there's more to this than just smoking a joint that people think that this is, right? So let's kind of just dive in here. Before we get into kind of your relief part of it, I'd really like to talk a little bit about your perception of marijuana growing up. What did that look like? What was kind of the surrounding environment and the perception of marijuana in your environment growing up?
It was a very strict environment. We're not from the United States. I'm Cuban, and very strict Catholic family, and it was just something that was taboo. It just if you did that, then that would lead into other drugs, and you were considered not a very respectful person, and so. Never in a million years would I have thought that here I am, it was just something you did not do, at least in with my family and my culture. And I'm sure that a lot of folks my age and older, especially if you're not, if you're from another country or whatever, can relate.
Yeah, I hear it a lot. Now, thinking back to maybe like some of your younger years, right? What were some of the worst things that you heard about marijuana growing up? Like, what were some of the worst possible things that people painted to you for that?
It was just looked at, again, that you didn't come from a good family, you weren't a good person. It would lead to other, drugs or whatnot. Mm-hmm. It was, did you hear so-and-so, their son or their daughter is, and it was, again, just taboo.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, the fact that morality was so tied into a plant.
Yeah.
It's a plant.
Right.
And a lot of this morality, like you're a bad person, you're disrespectful.
Absolutely.
And it's just, that's a morality issue, not a physical, what is this doing to you issue, exactly. which I find interesting because that's common for a lot of folks. So take us through the pain points, right? So you've had this pain for a long time, for many years. Tell us a little bit about what your pain stems from and what you've been suffering from.
Right. Well, it's a combination of a few things. Obviously, as we get older, things start to wear out. So I have a combination of a few things such as arthritis. I have a torn meniscus, which is your knee. I have a torn ACL, just very painful. And so right away, surgery and medication are the top healers, Mm-hmm. And so I've always been kind of resistant to Western medicine, but I do take some, such as, for my blood pressure, because if not, it's just not good. Those factors, and each year, as you again get older, mm-hmm. It worsens, and it's a vicious cycle.
Kind of speaking to that, can you tell us, on a scale of 1 to 10, right, how severe would you say that the pain was on a daily basis, for the last, however, since you've been dealing with it? 12. Wow. So it was really that bad. Describe to us, how that kind of pain impacted your life. Tell us a little bit about like some of the things that may have limited you from, or what did it do to you?
Pain, unfortunately, wears at you, in a weird way, you kind of become accustomed to it. You expect it. And so you just go, well, it's just another painful day, but it does limit your activities. My kids and grandkids would like me or would have liked me to do more things. And you get tired of explaining, or, grandma can't do this, or, hey, we're going to go out and boat. Well, you need to jump in the water. And you're like, I'd love to do that, but I can't, from the pain. And so you don't want to be a Debbie Downer,
Right.
or, while everybody's having a good time. So you learn to just also make excuses because you get tired of the same story.
Yeah.
So it does alter your life. Pain is not fun.
What did it do to your mood, like to your emotional state?
Oh, it affects that too. It's like a roller coaster, pain is not a good thing. It does. It affects the way you think, your perception of things, looking forward to things. It messes with your emotions.
We had a conversation once prior, to us talking today, and something that you said to me really stuck to me, hit home for me. And you said that, there's a point where you're in so much pain for so long, you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself.
Oh my God, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Now I'm a couple of years into this, and again, you're getting older, and you physically change, and you're not that youthful person. But it just, I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself. So
that's
it's like, who is that? Because it just takes a toll on you, not only emotionally but physically, and
and then missing out on events and family things.
Yeah, you miss out on a lot because you just can't do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And again, you just get tired of, saying, I'd love to do that. Just, I really can't walk that much. I love the parks, the Walt Disney parks, especially, whatever. And, I would love to go with all my kids and my grandkids, but I'm like, I'm not going to bring them down, rent a wheelchair, and, I can't, so I just, miss out and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So, you brought in so your doctor prescribed some pills, right? And you brought in kind of an array of pills here. And you were just telling us now, these 3 are just a fraction of some of the prescriptions that the doctors have prescribed to you, right? Sure. You were saying maybe 5, 6?
At least.
Wow. Now, tell us this. So tell us a little bit about...
and I don't mean to interrupt you,
Sure.
as I just did. And multiple cortisone shots.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a steroid, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, wow. Did those help at all?
Honestly, when you're in so much pain, it does for the moment. But it also affects, for example, your white blood count. It affects, if you're a diabetic, it's not good for diabetics to have steroid shots often. I don't know the duration, how much, it's once a year that you're allowed, or twice, but through the years. But it does help for the moment.
Wow. So over the years, you felt like it sounds like it was just, it diminished in how much it helped, and it was making your other parts of your health worse.
That's exactly.
So tell us about some of these other pills here too. This is just a fraction of what you're prescribed. So how did those make you feel? Like when you were taking these, did they help with the pain? Or did they give you any kind of what did they do for you?
At first, again, it would help. Sometimes they would, you'd feel other effects from it. And for me, it was like just an instant relief. And I was always concerned with the effects. Okay, so it's helping me today, but long term, what is it really doing? So it was just for the moment. In my case, it wasn't, and I believe not very healthy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I personally come from a big weight loss journey. And, something I learned on my journey, because it was a learning journey. It was not I didn't do a crash diet, I didn't do anything like that. It was really a lifestyle change. And a key thing that I learned in my lifestyle change, and I feel like it really applies here, is that the more natural and the closer you can eat your food that is as close to the natural source as possible, Like you get a fruit as close as you can get it to picking it off the tree. If you have meat, as close as you can get it to from fresh off the animal, for example, the better. But the more processed I noticed that food was, like the longer it can stay on a shelf, for example, usually it's the middle aisles of the grocery store. Those tend to be harder to burn off, and your body doesn't process those as well, and it can create other issues. So it seems to me like it would be very similar with these synthetic pharmaceuticals. And what I find interesting too is when you look at these pills, right? I wonder how many hands did each ingredient, from the source of where it came from in the earth to the final product, how many hands did this pass through? How much processing did it undergo? Sure. Because when you trade something like this for something like this, it's still green from when it grew on the plant, and all you did is you picked it off, let it dry out a bit, and then you have it for a number of different things. So I just find that interesting. And more natural can lead to better places and less, side effects. So So kind of going into your relief with medical marijuana, what made you start to think differently about medical marijuana?
Keeping in mind, years of pain and so on and so forth. I have a relative that uses medical marijuana, and it's kind of a cute story. He didn't directly tell me. In talking to my father one day, he says, "Listen, call so and so," because I was telling him about your issues, and he's doing this and that. And that's when I also noticed that my dad was kind of coming around, if you will. And so, long story short, it was my relative that we spoke, and he walked me through his journey, and I thought, listen, what can I lose, And he swore, listen, this stuff really works. It's not what, the old days people thought, this is really good stuff, and it helps you, and this is what you need to do to look into it, yada, yada. And so that's kind of how I started to open my mind, I wanted, but then there were steps that I went through, because you always go back to that era of, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? Geez, now I'm a drug addict, at my old age, So it was a process, but again, my relative, and I'm very grateful to him as well, because life is different.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. So tell us, what was it like? So your first experience trying products, right? Tell us about the kind of relief that you got on your first time. Can tell us a little bit about your first experience. What was it like for you?
Wow, my first experience. Honestly, I was nervous, because I now am legal to do this, and I'm going now to purchase this, and I was nervous. I'm looking around. I'm expecting a dark place where people are wearing hoodies, and you show them your card, and but it was a great experience from the get-go. And where I go to purchase, they're extremely, extremely helpful, no question. And I had many questions, was, laughed at, or, it was a wonderful experience. And then once I had the right products, again, I would go back into my shell. Oh my gosh, should I do this in the porch? What are my neighbors going to think? But the relief was instant.
And tell us about some things that you couldn't do before the relief and now that you can do.
Yeah. I would wake up and go to bed with severe pain. I would push myself to do things, especially around the house. I have pets as well. And frankly, I feel I could do a lot more, and I know that I can do a lot more. It just, and you don't feel, over medicated, or, it just, it's a great relief, and it just changes your aspect and views on everything, life, and the potential, and so for me, it's been a really, really wonderful journey.
That's amazing. So it sounds like more than the pain relief, there's other positive benefits that you've
Oh,
gotten from it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Again, you get your life back, yeah, it just changes everything. Your outlook, your everything. You're able to do things. You're able to function. You're able to, wake up and say, wow, I don't have pain today. And that's a plus.
It's amazing. Have you ever had any negative experiences with this so far?
Yeah, honestly, I have not. Nope, I have not.
That's
It's
amazing.
been really good, and extremely helpful.
I'm so glad that you came to us and got help.
Absolutely.
Something I would love for you to share too is, anyone out there that may need some kind of pain relief that modern medicine, or at least traditional Western medicine, is not addressing very well. What would you say to them if they're hesitant about trying medical marijuana, but they want to try something different? What would you say to people that are hesitant like that?
Yeah. Just open your mind, research, don't let your past or the way you were raised let you stay in that dark place, because there is definitely a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's so great to hear.
It really is. And it's really funny because in this journey of mine, I have a neighbor who shall remain nameless, long story short, I'm sitting in my porch, and he asked, what is that smell? It's a familiar smell to me. And this man is very close to my father's age, I would think. I would think he's in his 80s, like, no disrespect here. And he was told, I'm smoking as a result of my pain, blah, blah, blah. And he was just delighted. And he said, I've been smoking for 50 years.
Wow.
And I have another friend, she's a nurse, who had to leave nursing. She's a little bit younger than me, long story short. And I kind of put it on social media, my journey. And she messaged me privately and said, Maritza, that's great. I'm doing the same thing. I have my medical marijuana license. She has very bad spinal problems and whatnot. And she says, it's the way I can function. And you see the pictures on social media. She's with her grandkids at the park and doing this and doing that. So I believe there are some folks my age and older that have obviously turned to this wonderful, solution. But again, because of the stigma and the way you were raised, it's still always a little bit in the back of your head. Mm-hmm. And I still experience that at times. Mm-hmm. We went on a trip to see my dad, long story short, and I wanted to bring my vape with me. And I said, God, do you think that's okay? What if we get pulled over? And just relax. You're not doing anything wrong. You're legal. And obviously, I would always recommend that in any situation, not just with medical marijuana. Do it legally, do the research, sit with the right people, get educated.
I just want to thank you so much for sharing your journey. I know it can be difficult being vulnerable and kind of sharing personal details. Yeah, exactly. But something I truly believe in is that there's great strength in sharing vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Because there's other people, I know that there's someone else out there that's hearing your story or that's going to hear your story, and they're going to gain strength from that. And then they're going to be able to be maybe a little bit more vocal. And then it can help other people. Because I think the only way to really, truly overcome this stigma is for more people to really share their journey and share how they're getting relief. And that there's not all these negative side effects.
Exactly.
It's not with the picture that we've been told since we were little. You know, this is a whole different thing.
And that's my mission too, not only to heal and continue on this journey, and I'm still learning, but if I can help someone, that's great, especially somebody my age and older that, you know, is struggling and depressed and hurting and feels that life's not even worth living. But there is, you know, and you just have to open your mind and not be afraid.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. And for anyone out there who's listening to this story and maybe curious, you know, come down to My Florida Green. We're right here in Naples. We got locations all throughout the state. And if you want to get signed up, go to myfloridagreen.com, click Get Started, and just fill out the medical questionnaire, schedule your appointment, come down, and we will help get you educated, get you set up, and make sure that we set you on the right path because, you know, life's too short to be in pain.
Absolutely.
It's too short. So,
Yes, it is.
again, thank you so much. And till next time, like, comment, and subscribe.